Our mission today is to kind of like decode, go through. We want to help you all use it confidently and understand it like a native speaker.
Absolutely. And we have some fun source material to help us with this.
Yeah, we're drawing inspiration from this really cool idea we found. They framed it as like a fictional podcast episode called Phrasal Verb Action.
I love that.
Me too. And they even created this whole story about a student named Lisa to illustrate all the different ways that our go through can be used.
So creative.
I know, right? It's like edutainment at its finest.
Totally. But before we get too caught up in Lisa's world, let's break down the first and probably most common meaning of go through.
Okay, so what is it?
Well, it's that idea of experiencing something challenging, like going through a tough time after a breakup or, going through a difficult period at work.
Right. It's not just about the event itself. It's about the whole emotional journey.
Exactly. It suggests that you're facing something difficult, but you're dealing with it. You're processing it.
You're coming out the other side.
Yeah, you're surviving, you're persevering, and hopefully growing from the experience.
I like that. And I think our fictional student, Lisa, is definitely going through it in this source material.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She's got exams. She's writing her thesis. She's dealing with budget issues for her group project.
Oh, group projects don't even get me started.
Right. A universal struggle.
Okay, so meaning number one, experiencing something challenging. Check.
Check.
What about meaning number two?
All right. Meaning number two is all about examining something carefully.
Like when you say, let's go through the presentation one more time before we show the client.
Exactly. You're implying that you want to check every detail, make sure everything is perfect.
You're not just glancing over it, you're really scrutinizing it.
Right. It often applies to documents, data processes, but it can also be used for physical objects too.
Oh, like when you're going through your closet trying to find that one specific shirt?
Precisely. It's all about a thorough and systematic examination.
So in Lisa's story, how does this meaning of go through come up?
Well, the source material mentions that she's meticulously going through her thesis draft.
I can picture it now.
Right. Highlighter in hand, poring over every sentence, making sure every argument is clear.
Ooh, that attention to detail. I feel it.
Okay. Are you ready for meaning number three?
Hit me with it.
This one's a bit more lighthearted. It's about using up or consuming something.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Think about it. We went through a whole pizza last night, or they went through all their savings on that trip.
I can practically hear the credit card declining.
Right. It really emphasizes that sense of depletion, something running out.
So snacks, money, time, you name it.
Exactly. And when you know it, Lisa's group project ran into this very issue.
Oh no, what happened?
They went through their entire budget.
Classic group project problem.
Isn't it? Always happens.
Okay, let's move on to meaning number four.
All right, this one's a bit more formal.
Ooh, lay it on me.
It's about official approval or completion.
So like when a contract goes through or a law is passed.
Precisely. It implies that something has reached its final stage after a process.
There's a sense of finality.
Exactly. And in Lisa's case, her thesis finally went through all the approvals.
She did it. All that hard work paid off.
It did indeed. She's one step closer to graduation.
Okay, on to the fifth and final meaning of go through for today.
All right, this one might seem a bit abstract at first, but it's about transmission or travel.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about it like this. The email didn't go through, or the signal's going through clearly.
So it's about something passing from one point to another.
Exactly. But there might be obstacles along the way.
Like a phone call dropping because of bad reception.
Yeah, exactly. Or you could say, the idea went through several revisions before it was approved.
Ooh, I see. So it can be physical movement, but also metaphorical movement.
Exactly. It's pretty versatile.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
5 distinct meanings of go through.
And we've only just begun to explore Lisa's story.
Exactly. So before we dive deeper into all of that,
Yes.
I think it's time for a little challenge.
A challenge. I like it.
Let's put our go through knowledge to the test.
All right, listener. Are you ready?
Get those brains warmed up because it's quiz time.
This is going to be fun.
I know, right?
I love a good quiz.
Me too. Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so for this quiz, I'm going to give you a sentence with a blank, and you, our amazing listeners, have to fill it in with the correct form of go through.
That sounds easy enough, right?
Don't let us fool you.
Yeah, these can be tricky.
They can be tricky, and of course, our expert here is going to reveal the answer and explain the nuance behind it.
I'm trying my best.
All right, so sentence number 1. He had to blank a lot of red tape to start his business. What do you think? Go through, went through.
Tricky one. I think in this case, the answer is go through. It really emphasizes that process of dealing with bureaucracy, all that paperwork, all those hurdles he had to overcome to get his business up and running.
Yeah, it's like that image of cutting through all that red tape.
Exactly.
Okay, ready for sentence number 2?
Bring it on.
All right. She blanked her grandmother's old letters and felt a deep connection to the past.
Ooh, I like this one. Okay, so we're talking about letters, something very personal and a connection to the past.
Yeah.
So I would say the answer here is went through. It suggests that she carefully read each letter, savoring the words and reliving those memories.
Yeah, it's like a journey through time.
It really is. And it creates such a vivid image in your mind.
I know. Okay, last one. We weren't sure if the message would blank because the internet was so spotty.
This one's all about transmission.
Yeah.
So I think the answer here is go through. It highlights that uncertainty, that possibility of the message getting lost or blocked due to the bad internet connection.
Yeah, it's like that tension of will it or won't it make it to the other side?
Exactly. So did our listeners survive the go-through gauntlet?
I think so. Even if you didn't get all of them right, the point is to get those mental gears turning.
Yeah, exactly. And to start noticing how go-through is used in different contexts.
And speaking of noticing, our source material, phrasal verb action, they really emphasize the importance of active listening.
Oh, yeah, that's key.
They suggest paying attention to how go through is used in movies, TV shows, songs.
It's like a treasure hunt for language learners.
Right. You start to hear these phrases everywhere and you're like, oh, I know what that means.
And then you can start using them yourself.
Exactly. I remember watching a documentary about a musician and he said, I went through a really tough time after my band broke up.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a powerful use of go through.
It really captures that sense of emotional turmoil.
It does. And it makes you realize just how much a simple phrasal verb can convey.
Okay, so besides active listening, did our fictional podcast host have any other tips for practicing go-through?
They did. They suggested imagining yourself in different scenarios where you might use go through.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like a mental rehearsal for real-life conversations.
I love that. So, for example, imagine you're planning a trip with friends and you say, okay, let's go through the itinerary one more time to make sure we're all on the same page.
Perfect. Or you could be at work and you say, we need to go through this data carefully before we make any decisions.
Ooh, I like that one.
See? You're already a go-through pro.
Aha, I'm trying. But you know what? While we're on the topic of real-life conversations, I'm curious, have you noticed any cultural nuances associated with go-through in English-speaking cultures?
That's a good question. I think one thing that stands out to me is how often go-through is used to express empathy and support.
Ooh, I see what you mean.
Like you might say, I'm so sorry you're going through this, to someone who's having a hard time.
Yeah, it's almost like a way of acknowledging their struggles and letting them know you're there for them.
Exactly. It creates that sense of shared understanding. And I think it reflects a cultural value of being supportive and compassionate.
I love that. It's like go through becomes this linguistic bridge connecting people through shared experiences.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that no matter what we go through in life, we're not alone.
Okay, so we've explored the core meanings of go through. We've tested our knowledge with a quiz. We've even delved into cultural nuances.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I know, right? But there's one more fascinating aspect of go through that I wanted to touch on before we wrap things up.
Oh, tell me more.
It's about the subtle yet profound distinction between go through and its close cousin get through. Get through. It's like the scrappy little sibling of go through.
It is, isn't it? But with its own unique personality.
Exactly. So what's the key difference here?
Well, go through, as we've been discussing, really emphasizes the experience, the process, the journey.
Right.
Whereas get through is more about the outcome, the completion, the survival.
So you might say, I went through a lot of stress during that project, to really highlight the intensity of what you experienced.
But you'd say, I got through the project.
Yeah.
To emphasize that you finished it. You made it to the other side.
Ooh, I see. So it's a subtle but important shift in focus.
It is. And it's one of those things that native speakers often do instinctively without even realizing it.
It's like those hidden rules of language.
Exactly. And once you start to understand those rules, you can really level up your fluency.
This reminds me of Lisa's story from our phrasal verb action source material.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, it wasn't just about her learning different meanings of go through. It was about her navigating all the challenges of university life and ultimately succeeding.
Right. It was about her getting through it all.
Exactly. And I think that's a really inspiring message for all of our listeners out there who are on their own language learning journey.
It is. There will be times when you feel stuck, frustrated,